statistics with that, if you would please forward them to me via my email, or even I can set time to pick them up if that works. Okay, next on our list would be Lindsay Webb, please.
Written down for you. I'm just coming to you, sorry, as a parent who has a child who is not able to wear a mask. He has severe anxiety and OCD, and I just ask that you please consider those kids. When you make this a requirement, please come up with some sort of exemption or something so that my kid can go to school. He's already missed out for a whole entire year. He had to do online learning last year. He missed out on an honors class. He's a good kid. He's already taken high school classes in the 8th grade. He's taking honors classes, but he couldn't move forward with honors classes because of your online program last year. He does much better in-person learning. So please, please consider something for those kids who have mental health issues, who are not able to put something over their face. It is not because of politics. It is not because he's trying to be against the rules. It has nothing to do with that at all. He truly is a kid who cannot put something over his face all day. So please, when you're making your decision, please keep all of those kids in mind. Please. Thank you for your time.
Okay, next on, and I'm not very good at reading small print. Richard, is it Rodewald?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't want to mispronounce the name. When you have a name like Yamada, you want to make sure.
Good evening. Thank you for your time again. Good to see everybody. I'm not going to kind of regurgitate some of the stuff that we talked about last time. One of the things I wanted to ask is revisiting of the flow chart. And when kids come in contact with COVID, it's asinine to me that you can go get a negative test for COVID and you're still forced to be out of school 5 to 7 days. I know everything we're basing is based off cases in our area. We're going to have a lot of cases that are reported next week because it's my understanding the whole 7th and 8th grade football team was just sent home. And were probably told they needed to get tested in order to come back to school. We talked about the aerosol particles, a lot of the facts and things like that. For me, the kids should be in school. Again, if you want the option to wear a mask, wear a mask. If there are options you guys are coming up with for parents to be able to leave their kids at home or do the koala thing again for certain at-risk kids, that's fine. But they've already talked about all the numbers. We talked about them before. Happy to email you some more of those. But the kids should be in school. They should be in school, not forced to wear a mask. The numbers are what supports that. We all have individual stories. We all have kids with different needs. I can tell you the stories about my kids and how masks and different things have affected them, but the reality of it is my kid is no more important than any other kids when you have data over 18 months' time to look at a collective. And when you can look at data to know what the right thing to do is, and when you have sciences behind certain things like the lady pointed out about the masks and how they're really not stopping anything from getting in anyways, especially when you're fidgeting with your face and stuff all day long. The kids shouldn't be forced to wear masks, especially when they're at virtually no risk as a collective to wear a mask. They also shouldn't be forced to stay home, miss extracurriculars, do certain things, and miss out on their childhood. They're not political pawns. I mean, these kids over the last 18 months, they've seen their parks roped off with caution tape. They've seen their basketball hoops torn down at the park. They've been told they couldn't go to the pool. They've been yelled at by parents for playing in their yard and driveways. They are not political pawns to protect the adults. It's the other way around. It's our responsibility to do what's in their best interest. And their best interest is to be in school without being forced to wear masks. Again, I'm happy to send you any other material. We talked about it before. But that was really what I wanted to address, was see if there was some kind of change that could be made to the flow chart. Because to have a kid provide a negative COVID test and still be forced out for 5 days, or even just have a parent call in because their kid wasn't feeling well and now they got to make a doctor's appointment or shove a COVID test up their kindergartner's nose in order for them to go back to school, That's not right. Some changes need to be made to that in order to let our kids be in school and for our parents to be able to provide normalcy for them. So thank you again for your time, and I appreciate it.
Okay, next on our list would be Ms. Angela Barney, please.
Good evening, and thank you for letting me speak. I seem outnumbered here, but I just wanted to give a little bit of thought on the other side, since we've heard a lot from this side. I kind of hope to hear from the school board what specifically had called this meeting, but I knew it had to be something to do with masks, but at the same time, I am been in the district for 18 years. I have 4 kids that have graduated from Town Winchester, and I'm also a foster parent. I do realize that it's difficult for kids to wear masks. As a foster parent, I deal with different ages of kids, and specifically this year I have a son who is at the Career Center. My question specifically is, the Career Center is not mandating masks. And if this Career Center is not mandating masks, and the kids are riding the same bus, and they're coming home with kids in the middle school, not with masks, and I do know that the buses are required to wear masks, but none of them are 3 feet apart on a school bus. So there's not very much social distancing. There's probably a lot of touching, from what my son says. And he's been out of school for 2 days. I don't know yet if he has COVID. I'm waiting to get the test back. Last year, I had a son who had COVID as a basketball player. The whole basketball team couldn't play. When he did have COVID, he still has symptoms. He still has a loss of taste and smell to this day. And he is a very perfectly healthy child with no underlying conditions, not overweight, nothing. Nothing's wrong with him or ever was wrong with him. I do know from a personal experience, someone who is in the 3rd grade who is fighting for his life today after going back to school and did not have any underlying conditions and wasn't sick until he went back to school. I'm not saying masks will prevent anyone from getting COVID. I'm saying if we could take every precaution to help our kids be safe and secure and prevent them from being sick. For me, I have had to deal with kids who have anxiety, kids who have learning disabilities. I get the toughest kids as a foster parent. I get the kids who have various different IEPs, who you have to make special conditions and special arrangements for. I say make those conditions, make those special arrangements, do whatever we can to make sure that those kids have whatever they need. But on the majority of our population in school, do we want to be out of school again because we have so many cases of COVID in our district? Is that what we really want? Do we want to be forced to be at home? We make mandates for so many things in our school districts. Our kids can't wear their shorts 3 inches above the knees. They can't wear holes in their pants. They can't wear hats on their heads. They can't do this. They can't do that. We make mandates for so many things that have nothing to do with health. They have to do with, or whatever reason that we're making that mandate. So for me, we as parents have to make choices for our kids. I get it. I understand when people say it's my choice, it's my kid. But as a kid, that we're sending to a public school, some of our choices go along with whether or not they're impacting the other kids at the school as well. And I would just like to see us do whatever is going to make sure, and I'm not even saying make sure, whatever is going to do our best to alleviate the fact that we could have more kids getting sick. I went around all day yesterday in every store I could find in this area looking for on-the-shelf COVID tests because I couldn't find one for my son. They're sold out so fast that they're gone. That tells you that there's a lot of other people that are getting COVID tested around.
Thank you so much.
And I guess the one thing I would like to say is,
Trying to get 30 seconds.
okay, if we could just think about our kids and think about how we could eliminate making it political. It shouldn't be political. It shouldn't have anything to do with politics. What it has to do with is the best interest of our kids. And for me, the best interest of our kids is, let's try it out. Let's try it out for a couple weeks and see if some of the virus and things go down. We've tried it one way, let's try it the other way.
Thank you. Okay, again, I may need help with this name, but is it Loris McHugh?
Cat Bundy.
Sorry?
It's Laura King Cat Bundy.
Thank you.
That's okay, I'm fine.
I need better contacts, I guess.
I'm new Ohioan. I've been here for about 8 months now. I come from Massachusetts. We are definitely a little bit more, I think, conservative in the sense of like, we wear masks, when we're out in public. So here it might be a little different, and I understand that everybody has a choice, right? For us and my family, my husband is actually a healthcare provider. He's a nurse practitioner, and he's actually dealt with COVID for the past 18 months. He's had to deal with COVID positive patients every single day, Monday through Friday, and it's taxing. I can see, him dealing with it and how it's actually impacted him, both, I would say, it's both professionally and also personally. Having to deal with patients who died, it's definitely something that, wears on you. And also in our family, we have a sister-in-law who's a nurse at Grant Medical, and she also deals with COVID patients. And it's wearing on her as well. I mean, I'm just looking at the people who we have to, in my family, I have to care for, my husband, my sister-in-law, all that they've had to deal with, all that they've actually, all the people that have either died on their watch because of COVID-19. It really, it can take a toll on people. I'm just saying that I understand that people may not want their child to wear a mask, and if they're vaccinated, that's great. But my child's 5 years old. She doesn't have a choice to get vaccinated. I've even reached out to find out in her class, because we are very much about hygiene at our home. And it's important for you to wash your hands. It's recommended. And she's telling me she's not washing her hands at school. She's just getting hand sanitizer. And before she eats, it's imperative that she gets her hands washed. It should be a requirement here. It actually makes me kind of question. I'm talking about health. So if we don't want to wear a mask, how about we help our children with washing their hands before they eat? Because that is also another way to get COVID. Just putting hand sanitizer on is not necessarily going to, help prevent the spread. Washing your hands with hot soapy water is very important. So if you don't want to wear a mask, how about we wash our children's hands as well? So I want, you to realize that there's not just one thing or another thing. There's multiple different things that we need to do to help stop the spread. And throughout the day, we need to make sure our children are washing their hands. They are touching things, they're touching their nose, they're touching other things, and they're sharing things, and it's just spreading of germs. So I understand, they may not necessarily have to wear a mask, but can we at least try to implement better hand hygiene for our children to help them? So, thank you.
Thank you. Next on the speakers list is Cassandra Davidson.
I am not as prepared as some of the requesting that masks be placed back in the schools to help prevent some of the spread. I disagree with the statement that surgical masks have to be discarded within 20 minutes because I don't know any surgeon that takes off a surgical mask 20 minutes, every single 20 minutes to replace. I am angry because at you all, because I thought that you would have listened to the sources that are out there and what you had been given, but I'm more angry at myself for the trust that I placed in your hands. I am tired of the conspiracy theories that are going around and the sources that are being thrown out there from YouTube videos or even journal articles where they're quoted, but it's from the people who are surveying and not the actual peer-reviewed quarterly articles. I have heard multiple people quote the Constitution and the Bible, and it's our rights. We're with rights.
This isn't political.
And all of our children do have a right to an education, and it has to be provided in a safe manner. So I think at this point we need to reevaluate what we're doing because it's not working. I have 2 children left in the school district. I've had 4 come through. I have 6 total. I have 1 that doesn't have a chance to get the vaccine because of her age. And the funny thing about kids is we don't a lot of times know that there's a congenital defect until we know there's a congenital defect. So it's our responsibility to protect all of the children. Trying to see some of the other notes. In the hospitals, we are overwhelmed with the cases that are coming in, and it's now with the Delta variant, we are seeing younger, healthier people who never thought that they were going to get it are now, you can just watch lungs being filled up and consolidated, and they don't make it. I don't know how much more proof there has to be, whether it's from ODH, Franklin County Public Health, the children's hospitals, what needs to be seen for people to take responsibility and action that this is real, this is what we're facing right now. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I have, I'm not just a mom, I'm not just a nurse, but I mean, I research this, I live this every single day. Getting pulled into staffing when you have people that are out sick and stuff, it takes a toll on the emotional, healthcare workers emotionally, mentally. I had a ED doc say the other day that they compared everybody out in the front lawn having a kegger while the house is on fire, and that's literally what we're feeling like in every institution that you can go to. So I'm here. I have 4 degrees behind my name. I have multiple certifications behind my name. If you guys have any questions, feel free. Thank you.
That's a fallacy.
Okay, next on our list would be,
Appeal to authority.
if I say it correctly, Don Gunno, is that correct?
Yeah.
Good evening. I want to start with a letter that I was sent to read to you all from Michael Oglesby, the director of the Infectious Disease Institute at the Ohio State University. He says, there is no question that wearing masks reduce transmission of SARS-CoV-2, and in an unvaccinated population, the importance of this protective measure cannot be overstated. So again, we're talking about kids that don't have an option to get vaccinated. Perhaps you've seen the headline regarding the rise in pediatric hospitalizations at nationwide children's due to COVID-19. Severe infection outcomes in children are not common, but they happen, and they happen in the absence of comorbidities. I was here last week and told the story, or 3 weeks ago, it feels like last week, of my 3-year-old daughter who spent 4 days at Children's Hospital and a year of torture having MISC from COVID. She has no comorbidities. She's a normal, happy, healthy, now 4-year-old kid that ended up with MISC from COVID. So you can't predict it. It's not like you can say, oh, well, that kid obviously has an underlying issue, so we need to protect that one and not that one. You can't.
And this is not to mention the threat posed to faculty and staff. The vaccines work, but when you're surrounded by unvaccinated children who can circulate the virus at high levels, that vaccine-induced protection is challenged, particularly in older individuals. He says, anecdotally, I ride my bike through both the middle school and elementary school on my way into Ohio State. The kids are all wearing masks as they come to school because Columbus mandates them. They could care less. Making it mandatory is not a burden on them. It's the parents that are the challenge. Let me know if you're looking for more help. He said he's happy to answer any questions that you all have. I can forward this letter to you. He would be a good resource if you're interested. So I'm back just to say, I can't believe I'm back, but I can believe I'm back. I told the story tearfully of my daughter last time, and I don't really want to go through it again. But I just want to say, I hear a lot of comments about the trauma of masks and the acne. I guess that's a terrible thing for some kids, but I watched my 3-year-old get strapped to a table and rolled into a CAT scan machine while she screamed, okay? I watched her get, I watched her be put under to have an MRI. I have watched her get a half a dozen IVs in the last year and more blood drawn out of her body than I thought she had in her body. And she was a happy, healthy, normal 3-year-old kid. So if you're wondering, like, my kid wears a mask without a problem, man. She doesn't even think twice about it. In fact, sometimes I'm the one who forgets it and she reminds me. The kids don't have the problem, it's the parents. And I know there's a lot of statistics being thrown around, but I'm gonna back what Cassandra said. We have to look at peer-reviewed scientific studies. And the last I saw, there were something like 70 peer-reviewed scientific research studies on the efficacy of masks, and something like 4 or 5 that say they don't work. The evidence is out there. It's all out there. If you choose to look at the scientific and medical evidence and not TikToks and Facebook and memes and whatever, it's out there. And we need to follow that. Because we've been in school, 3 weeks? And here we are already talking about it again? Are we literally just going to wait until a kid dies? Are we going to wait until a kid is hospitalized like mine? Or are we just, what's the goal here? Like, at what point do we say, okay, we got to stop playing politics and stop trying to appease everybody and just do what's going to protect these kids? So I hope that you will dig deeper
Playing
and
politics right now.
the stuff we're sending you, my friends and I are sending you, and just go with what the science says and keep the politics and trying to make nice out of it. So that's all I got.
Thank you. Okay. Our next speaker would be Mr. Bill Russell. Are you here, sir?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm good.
Can I go in his place? No.
Are you on the list, ma'am?
Nope. Can I get on the list?
We should have after. Yeah, it's after the fact. We normally don't have.
I mean, Bill had a chance to go, so we're wasting his time. You could just let it go.
You should have been here before to sign up.
Bill had a chance to go.
But
He
you
had.
should have been here to
We're
sign
not.
up.
I'm not talking. I'm just saying Bill
Just,
had a chance
oh
to
my
go.
God.
Miss Anita.
Rudy Carty, go. Don't worry.
Hurry up.
I understand.
Bruna Carty?
It's Rudy Carty. Good Italian Irish name. Thank you. Well, thank you all for allowing me to speak. I don't have anything written. I try to rely on some sort of intelligence. And I agree, this does not need to be political. And if you want to say you want to stick to science, then let's stick to science. Basic science. Do you all know what a virus is? Do you know the definition of it? I'm assuming that you do. I have it written down, though, if you want me to read it to you. The fact is, not everybody around has access to an N95 mask, which does not always work. It does not. And the ones that the kids do have, they are, yes, uncomfortable. So then you prescribe gaiters. That was a big hot thing, gaiters. Everybody bring a gaiter. Does nothing. The cloth does nothing. Now, maybe you believe in God, maybe you don't. The human body has an amazing immune system, and I'm not going to stand up here and try to placate. We have all suffered through COVID. I had COVID. I had it before anybody else probably in this room had COVID, and it was horrid. And I jokingly will say, my husband thought I was dying, and I did not. And I came back, and guess what? 2 years later, I still have the antibodies. But science, or what you want to see out there, is going to tell you that they can't say that your antibodies are going to stick around that long. Well, I'm proven it has stuck around. It'll be 2 years in December. Now, let's get back to what's really going on here, because it is political. And I think everybody in this room, mask or no mask, loves your children and cares about your children, and you want the best for these kids. But the best is not sending them into a school. And by the way, are you Bridget? No. Bridget, your secretary. Okay. You might want to work with her on her communication skills because she's not good. Okay. The fact is, you need to sniff around. I don't know if this is valid or not, but you have potentially teachers in your schools that are segregating these kids out on vaccine and not vaccinated, making them stand up or debate and tell why they haven't gotten it. No, no, no. There is no instance that it is ever okay for a teacher to do that. Anyone. And if it has happened, I would hope that you would take issue with that or those individuals and make sure that it never happens again. I'm saying that as a parent, and I used to teach. I would have never done that, but you are single-handedly bringing segregation back into this because this is a political issue. Maybe not for you, maybe outside of here, but what we need to do, if you want to have a mask, wear the mask. I will never make fun of anybody who wears a mask. I respect your right to. If you want the vaccine, get the vaccine. I respect your right to, but you do not get to dictate to me or my child what is best for them, because right now, he also has the antibodies because he had to suffer through me 2 years ago. 2 years on. Now, I understand, obviously as an Italian, my hands are moving here, so I'm a little animated. Someone else on this board is Italian. Is it you? No? Maybe Minotti? Someone.
I'm American.
Okay. Anyhow. Anyhow, the point we're trying to make here is wear the mask. This is a virus. Look at the definition. There are going to be peaks and there are going to be valleys. And guess what? It's not going to stop with this one. Did you realize there were 5 other coronas before the one that happened in 2019? They all mutate. There's another one coming out of West Africa right now, but it's mutated so much it might have actually killed itself off. So please, take the politics, take your personal preferences, and put in mind here, you were put in place to represent all of us, not just a small fanatical group. I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I don't go on conspiracy theories. Again, I hadn't. And thankfully, God allowed me to make it through. But unfortunately, we are going to lose a lot of people. We will. And guess what? It's not even the number 4 killing in the state of Ohio. Cardiac, diabetes with cardiac, all your different cancers. Then you go down to COVID. But you know what's jumped up? Suicides. Suicides. Please think about that and quit making it about politics. Thank you.
Everyone that personal attacks are not acceptable part of public discussion. If you have an issue with a staff member, you call me and we will discuss it. Please do not bring it up in another meeting again. That will not be tolerated.
Yep, we'll take it up with you.
Thank you.
There's a way to solve every grievance, and that's by talking to the person in charge. If it's me, more power, and it's Mr. Summer, please do.
I will.
Okay, next on our list is James Dove. Did I get it right, sir?
Oh yeah, you're good. I won't be as animated as my lovely wife. So just to introduce myself, we have one son who's currently in the 8th grade. We've been in the school system for about 7 years. Myself, I'm actually vice president for one of the largest diagnostic companies in the world. We actually do antigen and antibody testing for COVID as well as PCR rapid. I work with the largest health system in the world. So from a science perspective, to discuss with my customers, I have to get very deep into this. I agree wholeheartedly with Mrs. Dollery in her assessment of the effectiveness of masks based off the size of the particles that you're getting with this virus. But it seems like back and forth it's been a discussion. are masks effective or not? To me, this is a very simple solution. If you feel they're effective, then have your kids wear them. And if they are effective, that will help them to keep from getting the COVID vaccine or COVID virus. If you don't feel they're gonna help, don't put your kids through all of the mental stress and all of the physical stress associated with that. We had our son homeschool all year last year because we knew the mask mandate was gonna be there, whether it was part-time or whatever. It's cruel and unusual punishment to make a kid wear a mask an entire day in school with all of their friends. So we homeschool. That option should be available if you don't feel that your children.
That's what I was gonna say.
If you don't feel your children are gonna be safe in that, then homeschool them, just like we had to last year. I mean, there's a way to do this. If masks are effective, then put them on, but don't mandate that everybody has to do that.
Okay, next on our list would be Leah Urban.
They should give us options. They should do one option.
I would like to propose that the school stop trying to control a microorganism that is beyond human control and other human beings. No matter your stance on masks, vaccines, or quarantines, it is asinine to think that we can actually stop the spread in other people. We are being given bad advice, and you'll never be able to stop infection. I simply disagree with the ODH's quarantine flow chart. I think it's a nightmare for kids, and it's forcing us to quarantine the healthy if they are unmasked and unvaccinated. Yet, it doesn't force the vax to quarantine if they mask, despite the fact that they may still be able to spread the flu unless they have symptoms. And yet, they may not have those symptoms if they are vaxxed, so who's to say they aren't spreading it more without realizing it? What good masks may or may not do can be completely negated by kids touching the mask and covering it with bacteria, as others have said. Therefore, I ask you not to put yourself in the position of being between the sides. It's lose-lose for you and ultimately for our children. At the end of the day, they are our children. They're not boards of the state. They do not belong to you, and I urge you to please stick to things that can help, like sanitizing surfaces and employing janitors to do so, which you're doing, and I thank you for that. We parents knew what it meant to be parents when we became responsible for other lives. We don't put that onus on you, or at least we shouldn't. We can decide if they need masks. We can decide if our children need vaccinated. We can decide to give them vitamins to boost their immune systems. And if they do fall ill, which happens annually at least, we are capable of deciding how to treat them and get them better. We always do it any and every time it occurs. So in short, stick to academics, teaching things that they need to learn, not political opinions or ideologies or medical decisions. We don't send our children to you for that. Publicly funded education is not intended for dividing children into groups. That is as true for race as it is for medical status. It's not okay to treat part of the student body differently than the other part. Please stop the segregation and further isolation of our students. You are a school board, not scientists, and everything can be debated back and forth. So at the end of the day, parents are in charge of their children. We don't send them to you to play parent, so focus on schoolwork and leave the parenting to us.
Next on the list would be Marcia Porter.
Thank you so very much, board members. It amazes me. I think everyone here, I'm kind of turn around here. I think everyone here loves their children.
Ma'am, if you need to speak, because there's folks at home that can't hear you. Thank you.
You want the best for your children. And it seems like, this is political, and it shouldn't be, because it's what should be best for the child.
guided by people that are looking out for them. You know, and as, again, a retired principal, administrator, educator, I have a son working as surgical, as a director at Children's Hospital. We are seeing an uptick in the amount of illnesses among children. My grandson is in Indian Trail. They have COVID. You don't know who it is, but it's in the building. It's just a matter of time before other children get affected. Now, I understand about the mask. It would be ideal if everybody would wear a mask. But it seems like maybe we're at a point now there needs to be some other option for parents. Whether it be remote, those parents that want to send their children can do so. Those parents that don't feel comfortable, they have an option. Because I'm going to give you an observation of what I see when I take my grandson every morning. The cars are lined up all the way out the street, sometimes past the light, to get into the parking lot, to get to the drop-off. When you look in the cars of the parents, you see such anxiety, fear, not knowing what to expect, morning and afternoon. There's such a look that, you know, I sit there and I wish I could help them. That's the principle in me. But, you know, all I can do is to pray that each and every child that walks in that building is safe and secure. As board members, I ask you to look at, when you look at your child, you're seeing the reflection of other children in the district. When I was, you know, teaching and being a principal, each and every child that came into my building, I was responsible for K through 12, and one time K through 8. When I look at each and every child, it was like looking at my children. And I wanted the best for that child, even though he wasn't mine, because he belonged to somebody else. So maybe there needs to be an option for parents. But I am begging the board to make good, conscious judgment. You're responsible for the children in this entire school district. Yes, the option is, it's wonderful to wear a mask. A mask does protect. And we can see by all the news, everything that's going on with all the hospitals, all the states.
Your mask has a vent on it.
It needs to stop. It is about the children first. So please, I beg you, think about each and every child that walked in all these school districts and in Canal Winchester. Make good judgment calls. It's like if I'm driving in a car, I can't say I'm not going to put a seatbelt on. The law, I will get a ticket if I don't have a seatbelt on. This is common sense sometimes, what we need to do. There are laws, there are standards. You can't have freedom everywhere. There are things that we have to abide, but when we're dealing with children, we need to think about them and do what's best for them, period. If they need to be protected, do so. If you want your child not to wear a mask, I don't know what to say. If you want to send your child with a mask, you should have that to do so. So again, I beg you, please make the right call. Think about the little ones. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Hey, you're gonna have trouble with this last name, John Saint, I can't read it. I'm sorry. Are you here? John?
Snowbird?
It starts with an S, I can't quite read it, but. Yeah, please come on up. Monarch Drive.
Evening. Not very good at all this. I'm not, actually really intending to. First of all, the only thing I really have to say is that is the reason why we're here, is that flag. more skin in the game than a lot of parents. I'm a single parent. I've raised 2 girls on my own for 7 years. And last year, which I know is all the schools, was hell for me. Beyond. I still had to go to work. I made too much money to get any of the checks that anyone else got. Still haven't got it. Anyone wants to sign one over, I'll take it. I had to end up spending $7,000 for a tutor to come to my house without a mask. She never wore a mask, didn't have a problem with it because she had common sense. I also had to argue with, I won't say their name, sir, one of your administrators, because they would not give us an extension on the time. So this whole situation has been out of control from the beginning, which I think we all agree on that. It got political, it's still political, but the bottom line is that right there. It is my choice, not none of yours, to tell my kids what the hell to do. I will be the only one doing that. I fought in court for that years ago. There will be no one else doing it. If you guys mandate a mask, my kids are yanked out of this school system day one. They will not be back. This is out of control. It's been out of control. And you guys can actually make a stand. And I'm sure everyone's seen the videos on YouTube, this, that, with the school board meetings blowing up out of control. And I'm actually really disappointed we don't have more parents here. That is the disappointing part in this, that we allow you guys to have that much control over our lives. This is not a third world country. It's not a second world country. This is the United States. We make the decisions here. We put people in place to help us make the decisions. When we don't agree with you, it's time for you guys to go. But the bottom line is, when it comes to I don't think any of you would have liked me at all to walk up to you and tell you what to do with your child. I don't think anyone would. Other than that, I don't have much to say. I'll keep time short, but this is just out of control. It really is. You guys have destroyed, not you guys personally, but whatever system, but you guys have the power to change this. That by all means you do, and you can stop it. Because I guarantee you, I'm not the only parent out there. Everyone's at their wit ends with this. No matter what side of the aisle you're on. At some point, it's got to stop. So, thank you.
Last gentleman signed up at the end. That would mean we need to let the other lady talk also. So do we want to cut that off, or how do we do that?
If you let him sign up, Mr. Unati, you're going to have to let him speak.
Then we'll have to let the other speak. Okay.
That's fine, Mike.
The board okay with that?
Yes. Mr. White?
Man.
Never been my area.
We'll find out.
Thank you. I'm a CT technologist, and my understanding as far as COVID-19 is concerned is that when we do an evaluation of a chest x-ray to determine the conditions of that person's lungs, whether they got pneumonia, influenza, or COVID-19, when you look at a normal chest x-ray, the lungs are black because there's nothing to attenuate the x-ray beam. So as you come in contact with something that's going to affect your lungs, it's going to show up on that x-ray. If I'm was able to show you 4 different images, you will see that COVID is the worst. Your lungs are flooded. It'd be like me holding your head down in a toilet. And once your lungs fill with fluid, it's like you're drowning. Now, I have a child in the school system, just like everyone else here. One child that may end up pediatric ICU on a ventilator. It is not something you want to see or witness. Oh, I'm 65 years old. I'm a type 2 diabetic, puts me in a high risk category. I've been vaccinated. That's my personal business. I'm not sharing it. But my son isn't, because he's not 12. So I'm playing Russian roulette with his life. I'm sending him into an environment that is not going to be accountable. The school board is not going to be accountable if my child comes in contact with COVID and it becomes severe that he ends up in a pediatric ICU on a ventilator. The school board is not going to take any responsibility. So what you're asking us as parents is to play Russian roulette. That's a difficult decision to make. I heard one of the parents talk about homeschooling. You're right. It was difficult. For some of us who had to work, it became even more difficult. Fortunately for me, I was retired, and I have an educational background. But I'm just concerned because I have contacted one of my son's teachers by email because he said to me, I don't have any elbow room to write. I'm going, excuse me, isn't this supposed to be 3 feet apart? I don't know. I went back and looked at the district said, they said 3 feet. So I reached out to his teacher, and this is her response. Due to some seating and the amount of students in the room, 3 feet is a goal that we are trying to accomplish. But in some situations, it's tricky. If you wish for your son to be 3 feet away from other students, we can certainly try our best to give him a desk where he is sitting away from others. As of now, the school district is not requiring masks. If you want your son to wear a mask, please let him know this, and we will let him know this, and we will remind him to wear it. If I ask him, were you wearing your mask? No. Well, the teacher said we don't have to. Excuse me? I'm your parent. I'm telling you, you have to.
Sir, you have 30 seconds.
Thank you. So I'm just saying, from August 23rd to August 30th, you've had 5 cases. I'm hoping that not one of these children or any of these parents had to end up in an ICU on a ventilator. That's all I have to say.
If you're allowing me to speak, why can't she sign up?
We got to cut it off somewhere.
I know, but she didn't sign up because you told her no.
Was she going to ask when?
Yeah, she.
Okay, she
All right,
was
this is the last one,
Okay,
please.
thank you.
Yes.
She's a student. I think she can speak to a lot of
Absolutely, she's experienced.
That's what, but this is the last one, because you guys signed up prior to that, so we
Yeah, wait, you're saying she's the last one? Okay.
Last one.
Yes, that's what I'm saying, yes.
No, go, you go sign up. Yeah, go sign up, please.
Hi, my name is Christy Brown. I'm an 8th grader, and I'll be very quick. I just wanted you guys to, I just wanted to understand the parents that don't want their kids to wear masks. Are you saying you want my child to die? Because I don't understand. It is. It's that
No.
serious. It's
Nobody
that
said
serious.
that.
Bullshit. I'll weigh in on that.
Well, it's that serious.
Yeah.
That's dramatic shit there.
COVID
Yeah.
has killed a lot of people.
That's a bit much.
COVID has killed a lot of people. And
That's
it's not going to
bullshit.
hurt anybody by saying, let's wear masks. So I'm sorry he feels that way. I wasn't trying to offend him, but I tell my daughter to wear a mask. On top of that, if you guys do not mandate masks, then give us an option. Go back to 2 days on, 2 days, 1 day off. I think it was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday you clean, Thursday, Friday the kids went to school. I'm okay with that. We did that half the year. My child didn't get a cold. That's an option. I called the school because I wasn't ready to start school because the kids had to wear, it wasn't allowed, they wasn't mandating masks, so I didn't want to send my child to school. And the lady said, well, then you're wasting your 5-6 days of the year. There's no window. There's no room. So, if you're not going to wear masks, then give us an option to put our kids in like a 2-day, 3-day, some other online, something. Also, what are we doing about the filters in the furnaces and to clean the air? The classes are overcrowded. There should be some kind of HEPA filters or something to clean the air. And every class, my child is in middle school, so she's changing classes. When they walk in the door, wash your hands. In other countries, as soon as they walk through the room, they're washing hands, stopping the spread of the COVID. And the last thing is, let's learn from history. The Spanish flu killed more people than the COVID. And they didn't have a vaccine in the 1918 through 1930. They did social distancing and masks. Why are we not learning from that? And they did lockdown. And if you went outside with a mask, without a mask, you got a ticket. You were getting a ticket as if it was like, the one lady said when you wore a seatbelt, if you get pulled over, you get a seatbelt ticket. They were giving out tickets. So let's learn from history. The Spanish flu killed many, way more people than COVID.
Yeah, it was way
and
worse.
they didn't learn until they enforced lockdowns, masks, and I don't care if it's a free country. I get that. But there's not going to be many people around if we all die from COVID. Anyway.
That's not going to happen.
Thank you. Okay, and the last speaker will be Mariah Fox.
Hi, I'm Mariah Fox. I'm a junior at this high school. I have been deeply impacted by this entire thing. I have depression, ADHD, and anxiety. This entire thing has made learning difficult for me more than it already was. I'm in honors classes. I try so hard to keep in those honors classes and keep up with those neurotypical people who don't have to struggle with learning. And I didn't want to drop below what I thought I could do as far as honors classes by going online last year. So I wore a mask. I wore a mask every day. And this year, I'm in my honors classes, and I'm happy. I'm seeing people, they're smiling. I forgot we had some of these people in my grade. It's not at all political. It's science. We've heard nurses speaking from both sides. But, sorry, I'm frazzled. It's not politics. I will not speak politics up here. I'm 16. I should not have a political opinion. But these masks should be optional. It is up to the parents. They should be talking with their children about what the children and the parents think is best for the child when going to school. And if that is wearing a mask, then the child should wear a mask. If it is not wearing a mask, then they shouldn't wear a mask. I also believe maybe it'd be best if there was another option for children or parents who think that it is not safe to go into school without masks, or even if they do have masks, they believe that they are still unsafe in school with other children who are unvaccinated and unmasked. Maybe they should have the option of online, just like last year. I'm all over the place. I apologize, hopping. I'm so sorry. Another thing, like the person before me said, the air filters and all the filters in the school, the hygiene. It should be such a bigger thing than it already is. We're talking about masks, which is this little thing, but we aren't talking about the thing that is affecting the air that you're breathing even through the mask. We're not talking about what you're touching your supplies with. And I think it should be talked about, obviously. I'm up here talking about it. Sorry. I see kids every day wearing masks. There's some who wear masks and there's some who don't, and that is perfectly fine. I don't treat them any differently. They don't treat me any differently. That is our personal opinions. But I do believe, and my friends, I have friends who have been vaccinated. I'm not vaccinated, but they have been vaccinated, and they don't wear masks, and it's fine. We get along fine. None of us have been sick. None of us feel sick. And if we do get sick, we know don't go to school. That is obvious. If you're sick, if you're feeling sick, you shouldn't go to school. That's logic. We don't drink after each other, eat after each other anyways. Like that's should be logical. We don't share supplies. That's just logical. But I'm going off on a tangent. My apologies. Basically, it should be the parent and the child's personal option to wear a mask to school or to not. That's it, I guess. Thank you.
Mr. President, if I may, I'm Debbie Long. I am a past board.
You're going to have to wait because we're already done with the public comment section.
I'm addressing Mr. Yanati.
I can speak to you afterwards. I'll be around if you wish.
Okay, I just want a couple minutes. As a past board president of Canal Winchester, please.
I'll see you after if you don't mind. We have a lot to discuss and a number of opinions to sort of work through, and I'll be happy to talk with you.
Okay.
Okay, this issue is a lot bigger than everybody could even understand. This is about masks. It's not about masks. It's about the disease itself, about the science, it's about the options. And for me, I did some research with Duke University today and their reports, and so, medical, and then there's the Pediatricians Association. So there's, one, I hate to be mandated to do anything. I don't like to be told. But on the other hand, I worry about every kid in this district. And for anybody to think otherwise, I spent 44 years in this district, and as a teacher and as a coach and elsewhere. To say that we don't care, that's just blatantly wrong. Everybody on the school board thinks first about the kids. Politics have no issue. I'm the least political human being alive. That being said, is that I appreciate every comment, everybody's speech, both sides. It's a lot to chew on. And I'd like to hear from the board as far as, knowing that we were going to do this, I knew that this would happen, that we'd have a lot of different opposing views, different things. And we want to hear that. That's what we're here for. Okay, and any comments from the school board?
I want to thank everyone who spoke, and those who have not spoken, but have your presence here as well. Just like Mr. Yanati has stated, I do respect everyone's opinion, both sides. It takes courage to get out there and tell everyone how you feel and what your beliefs are. But I really feel like part of my job is to help ensure a safe environment for all of our kids. And my background is public policy, public administration. It's not in the medical field. Therefore, I'm not going to try to ascertain medical facts and discuss the variants. And we all can get that information. But what I want to do is basically look at what has been given to school boards as advice. And what I am looking at would be the state of Ohio's guidance from the Governor's Alliance office as far as what they recommend school districts do in order to help keep children in school in person 5 days a week, and that's everyone's goal. We want to make sure our kids can learn in a healthy and safe environment and be in person with their teachers. But I feel like also the issue with the mask, no one is saying the mask alone is the savior. But what I feel, it's just part of a layered approach that when you take a combination of different things, including the ventilation, social distancing, hand washing, sanitizing, mask wearing, vaccinating, when you combine it all together, it improves the outcomes that we can actually slow the spread. It's not a cure. The vaccination is not a cure either. But we can slow it down, and we can do what we can do in our power in order to help keep our children in school and help prevent other severe disease if we can. So basically, I'm just looking at what the guidance has been, and the Ohio Department of Health says that recommending following layered prevention strategies were effective at controlling COVID last year. So that's what they're going off of. They have done research.
Was it?
And prevented evaluations, and the State Department has been relying on epidemiological information, no politics. So basically, they're saying that masks as one approach has been proven to slow the spread of the virus, and especially it's important for children that are under 12 years of age who cannot be vaccinated. So I feel like each week we're going to keep seeing these numbers rise, and I can't in good conscience to sit back and say, well, I understand the opinions of having personal choice, because if it were my personal choice and we had that available, I would have my children enrolled back in Koala. But, like others have stated, I do. I feel like choice is important. But looking at what the guidance has been for school boards, that's what I'm deferring to, and outside of my own personal opinion. So that's all I want to say for right now.
As Mike said, I want to thank everyone for stating their opinion today and having the courage to stand up and tell us your thoughts. And we are not taking this lightly. This is a huge issue. To me, it's not a political issue. I'm looking at the best interest of the children. One thing I'm trying to look at, focus on, is the data. We're early in the school year. The data is limited right now. I don't know if there is. I haven't seen any data comparing schools that have mask mandates versus schools without mask mandates to determine the effectiveness of them. I'm taking that into consideration in my decision. And I guess that's where I stand right now.
So I've got questions. I'm going to ask a bunch of questions tonight because I'm still listening to folks talking and taking things in consideration. And I think, Jim, I asked you earlier today, and we talked about an online option. Where did Koala go? Where did online go from the state? Did they remove it? Was it funding? And if you could talk to a little bit about that, because either, just to clear up our stance on it, or what's the state doing about that online situation?
So the Koala option that we had last year, at the end of the school year, it expired. Okay, so we don't have that option for this school year. That has nothing to do with Canal Winchester local schools. That came from the state. The state did extend to have a different type of online school. We have applied for that application, and we're waiting to hear back from the state on whether we have received that or not. We also did one for blended learning, which is the same thing. So we have applied for those things and try to give our parents the option of whether they want to be in school or doing online. We're just waiting to hear back from the state on that. The mic just went off. You're on. Am I on? Can you hear me? Just use your, yeah, use this right here, yeah. The original deadline was July 1st for one of the online options, just to give you a little historical value. Back in July, things were going good. Most school districts didn't apply for it because we thought we weren't going to be dealing with this again. And so the state has extended that deadline, and we applied for it again. And so we're going to see what happens from there.
I want to bring that up because I know a couple folks had talked about it, and I think either one decision or the other decision that might help families out, stay in the district and give them an option for schooling and education for the students. As far as building protection, I know, and I've asked you this every time, and I would like you to reiterate it again, because you know, the precautions that we're taking, the spray that we're putting down, you know, we invested some good money in the equipment, in the spreading equipment, and the chemicals or substance, whatever we want to call that. So we're still doing that. If just speak briefly about that, if you could, just let folks know that we're still
using the Prevent 24X
okay.
in the building. So it is being sprayed in the building every 2 to 3 months. It lasts up to 90 days. So yes, we're still following those protocols in the building. We're following, you know, I heard earlier about hand washing and sanitizer. We'll make sure that we reiterate with our staff to wash hands as much as possible. The problem is you can't wash them all day long. Middle school kids, there's no sinks in the classroom, and so the only place to wash your hands is going to the bathroom. So, you know, logistically, sometimes it's not set up to wash your hands as much as you possibly want. That's why we're using the sanitizer as much as possible. So, but I will address that with the staff, especially at the younger levels, to make sure that we're washing his hands as much as possible, but you can't do it all the time. So that's why we have the hand sanitizer out there for them. But the HVAC, I heard that a couple of times, and our system is up to code in regards to the requirements needed to provide enough fresh air in the classrooms. That happened a couple of years ago. So all buildings are up to code on that. We have enough levels of we have CO2 sensors that tell the HVAC system when new air is needed in individual classrooms throughout the district. So the HVAC system has been upgraded to make sure that it meets the ventilation requirements moving out.
Okay, thank you. I just want, again, folks in the district to understand the building prevention protocols that we're going through with sanitizing HVAC and what's that?
I'm a Prevent 24X.
Prevent 24X, that's what it is.
I'd like to make another point. The quarantine matrix, or blueprint, or whatever it is, protocol, it's not we didn't decide that. That's given to us by the Department of Health. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And so, it makes no sense. It's what we've been given.
So I spent some time last Friday. I was in Indian Trail because I wanted to see the kids in action, the staff in action, see actually what everything's going through, what folks are going through. And I was actually very surprised about how few masks I saw on students. It was probably, I'm not going to guess because I have no idea what it was. It was lower than what I had expected, which surprised me, you know, given the option to families, whether they want to wear masks or not. It's pretty apparent that the majority of the families are not concerned with the students wearing masks, especially at that younger level who are not vaccinated. So that just took me by surprise. I'm just going through boardrooms. So, but what I witnessed at lunch, I was actually, I shouldn't say I'm surprised because I know Indian Trail and all our schools do a great job, but I was just amazed about how orderly you can get, I don't know, a couple hundred second graders to sit on the green dot, 3 feet away, and eat their lunch. And I asked Mr. Riddle, I said, what are the green dots for? And he said, well, that's where the kids are supposed to sit. He goes, I actually went through every single dot, measured 3 feet for every dot. And I said, didn't you start winging it after a while? Because he's pretty good. He goes, no, I didn't. He goes, I took that ruler or that yardstick every time because I wanted to make sure that we're achieving the minimum, not the minimum, but the requirement of 3 feet at the lunch table. 3 feet across from the lunch table is still being acquired and also sitting next to. So, and I know we were doing that all this, the lunch, areas, not just Indian Trail. But again, I was very impressed with the cleanliness of the lunchroom, the quietness, the courteous of the students. I mean, usually I was expecting to walk in and just not toilet paper thrown around, but at least chaos. But this was very well done, so I was impressed with that.
Welcome to school.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that there's going to be some closer contact with students because that's just the nature of a kid, is to hang out with another kid. But at the lunchtime, it actually looked, I was very impressed with that. I appreciate everyone's emails that we've received in the last couple of weeks. Sorry if we didn't respond to every single one of you personally. I know some of us tried to.
Oh man. I had to get out of there. I don't know if they're gonna vote tonight or not, but I had to cough. I wanted to get out of there. What's up, everybody? Hey, I'm trying to find this camera here. Well, yeah, I just had to get out of there. So I decided to leave. I wasn't gonna speak, so I got here kind of late and I wasn't able. Yeah, so my daughter goes here. Many of you guys know that, and I don't know if they do a mask mandate. I might have to pull her out because I do not want my daughter going to school every day, all day for 8 hours. Hold on one second, guys. Bam, bam. There we go. Yeah, so yeah, I can't really see your chats, guys. I'm not gonna try and read chats while I'm driving here, so yeah, I did want to say something. I did want to speak, but I got there and they're like, oh, you're too late, you can't speak. But I'm a little annoyed because they ended up letting like 3 people speak who didn't sign up. I guess I could have made a scene or something, but I wasn't gonna do that. But one thing that interests me, and I wanted to ask them, I didn't really get a chance, but last year they had every student wearing masks, and yet twice they had to shut the schools down for like 2 weeks, and then they ended up going back later. But even then, like with every student wearing masks, I kept hearing about kids, having to go home and stay home for 2 weeks because they got sick, and that went on through the rest of the school year. My daughter, a couple times, had to stay home because she got a cough, and we're like, oh, we just wanted her to stay home a day, and they're like, nope, she's got to stay home 2 weeks. So it's like, how well do these masks even work? And I don't know if you guys noticed during the stream there, but all the people that were like wearing masks there, they all seemed like hypochondriacs. Like they seemed really like scared. The woman that was sitting right next to me, she was spraying her hands down like every couple minutes. I don't know if you guys caught that. I tried to catch it on the camera, but every couple minutes she was spraying her mask. She had 2 masks on. I mean, come on. Like, you're wearing all that and you're still like scared. Like, you still want, everybody else to wear masks. I don't get it. And I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure the top countries, like, and I don't want to say Israel is the top vaccinated. I don't think they are, but they're near the top. And they're also near the top as far as PPE adherence, meaning that, you know, everybody's wearing masks. And they're still locking down. They're still having, like, record surges. And so it's... Unless the schools are going to give the kids new N95 masks every day, I don't understand what it is they think they're accomplishing. Because, I mean, it's a bunch of kids in a school together all day long. These masks, if they're wearing, you know, the medical ones, those aren't really any good. Neither are the cloth ones. Something else I noticed, they kept, you know, all the pro-mask people, you guys probably noticed this too, they all said, oh, this isn't political, this isn't political, this isn't and all of them proceeded to get really political. I don't know if you guys caught that, but one of them accused everybody who was against the mask mandates of being, of wanting kids to die, and that caused one guy to just leave. He's like, I'm done, which I don't blame him, because I was having trouble not speaking up. And then another lady's like, she didn't say screw your freedom, but it was something along those lines. And it just was, they seem to think there's a lot more kids dying of COVID than there actually is. And they also think there's way more people dying without comorbidities than there are. And I also found it interesting, and guys, it's not a race issue, okay? I'm not trying to say like all black people are a certain way, but I don't know if you noticed, like, I'm pretty sure every single pro-mask person in there was an African American. And they all seemed really scared, and they were all, like, claiming that everybody they knew was on a ventilator, their kids were on ventilators, and, like, I'm not calling them liars, but it just seemed like, it's like, how do all of us not know anybody who's died of COVID, or maybe, you know, we all know people who got it and are now fine. We don't know, you know, none of the anti-mask people had stories like that. So it's just weird to me. It almost seems like these people are just making stories up. They're so scared, and they're so invested in this new ideology, this new mask, you know, and they all were saying slogans that you hear on the media. I'll slow the spread. You know, it just seems like it runs its course and then it's over, just like the flu. And a lot of the pro-mask people seem to have it in their heads that you're going to stop the virus, you're going to get rid of the virus. A couple of them were like, this is never going to end if we don't all mask up. And it's like, what are you talking about? Everybody masked up last year, and here we are again. But this year there's vaccines. But that doesn't matter. It's just... I don't really like the format of that either, because, you know, once someone said something, it's like, oh, I want to counterpoint that. But they're like, it's not a debate, this isn't political, but now I'm just going to proceed to go on a political rant. One of the women there says it's not political, and then proceeds to say that it's the parents that are the problem. It's not the kids. The kids know. The kids know that this is the way to go. It's like, oh yeah, well, kids are easily manipulated. But yeah, let's just, you know, the kids want to do it because that's all they hear all day, you know, day in and day out, and they're scared because you're scaring them. I'm pretty sure, and I wanted to talk about this at the thing, I didn't get a chance, but the CDC, I'm pretty sure their data shows that only like 5% of all coronavirus deaths, I think just in America, only 5% was